live stream started.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for attending this remote meeting of the committee. It is a recorded meeting. Members should treat all conversation in the chat facility as a matter of public record. Please could all members and officers keep their microphones muted unless they are invited to speak. The first item on the agenda is the register of attendance. Please could the meeting clerk undertake a name roll call of members and officers, please? Thank you.
Of course. So I'll just do members of the committee first. I've got apologies from Councillor Plasto. I'm going to say your name, please say present. Councillor Bowles.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Clues.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Donat.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Davis is not present. Councillor Lambie is not present. Councillor Panther.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Villan.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Ward is not present. I'll just do members who aren't part of this committee. Councillor O'Connor, could you say present, please?
Present.
Thank you very much. Just for the clarity for officers, Rachel, could you say present?
Present.
And Sean, could you say present, please?
Present.
Thank you very much. The register is complete.
Okay, thank you, Clark. We now move to the next item on the agenda, which is the declarations of interest. Have we got any declarations of interest, Clark?
None that I'm aware of, unless members wish to make one now.
Please do so. Right, Clark, it's like we haven't got any, if I'm right.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Okay, so we'll now move on to the first substantive item on the agenda, which is, I believe, item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. So to confirm as a correct record, the minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday, the 10th of November, 2020 on paper A. So I will propose that we accept, we'll confirm, the minutes of the committee. If I've got a seconder, please.
Councillor Donat has raised his hand.
I will second that.
Thank you, Councillor Donat. Clark, could we proceed to a vote?
Of course.
Thank
Can I
you.
say your name? Please say for, against, or abstain. Councillor Bowles.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Clues.
Down.
Thank you. Councillor Donat.
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Panther. I think Councillor Panther's having.
Yeah, abstaining. I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay. And Councillor Villan.
For.
Very much. That motion's carried.
Okay, so now the next item, which is item 4, levelings improvements. I think it's something we got on a paper, but that was sent by you on Monday, the 7th. Yeah, so it's just for noting, I believe. Yeah, just an update from McDerreed Associates about the survey. I think they got 429 responses, and they're going to work on that. They're going to analyze, all the data they got, and they will deliver the information on the 8th of January. Is that right, Clark?
As far as I understand it, yes. Councillor Bowles has his hand raised.
Yes, Councillor Bowles.
Thank you. Can I just ask what the total spend on this project to date is, please?
Hopefully Rachel can provide you with that information. I don't have it to memory.
Rachel?
I will provide it in about 2 minutes.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or from councillors while Rachel is looking for the information?
Chairman, I think just while we're waiting, the only thing that I would add is I believe that when they tallied up, they've started putting in the responses and they actually had 431 in the end. Just
All
two
right.
more than they initially stated.
Okay,
Mixture of online and hard copy.
thank you, Clark.
The total spend to date is 5,896. That's 60% of the total spend for Magda Reed Associates.
So there's still money already agreed to be paid as well.
Yes, yes.
So, right, okay. Out of a total budget of?
It was 25,000.
So,
It's
roughly,
just short
roughly speaking, we'll have spent about £10,000 or £25,000 on a consultation exercise that so far has told us there's a lot of dog mess on Levellings.
Correct.
It's like ironic. The people leading this are the people who shout a lot about how we spend our money and how we do things and how things aren't scrutinised. I don't remember that £10,000 coming before full council at any stage.
Don't believe anyone else wants to speak, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Clark. Councillor Bowles, was that a question or what you said, or just an observation?
It was a question on the finances. The other part was an observation.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bowles. Okay, do we have any other questions or observations about this item? Councillor Clues, I think. Go ahead.
Why did it take so long to actually get to that stage? Surely something through the door would have been appropriate in the first place. Why did it take so many times to actually receive all that information, really? That's one hell of a wage packet, isn't it, really?
I think, Councillor Clues, that would be an answer. The answer would be given by the Levellings Working Group. Is that right, Clark?
Yeah, so the Levellings Working Group have the delegated power to manage this budget and to organise this consultation and this work. So it will be for them to provide any clarity you seek in terms of all that. But the one thing I will say is that obviously, like with a lot of other things, coronavirus has delayed some of this work from happening. It was anticipated it would happen earlier in the year, but it was delayed up until now. However, I believe the consultation only lasted a month in total, so I don't think it was an unduly long period of time.
Councillor Clues, has that answered your question?
Well, that's not a bad. That's still a lot of money to spend for that particular agenda, really, when you're actually looking at the bearded fishermen and all the rest of it, dealing with people's lives, and in comparison, just doesn't even seem to make sense to me.
Thank you, Councillor Clues.
Yeah.
Any other questions, observations? No.
I'm just wondering, has he ever? Do apologise.
No, Councillor Clues, yeah, go ahead.
Does he come to some of the meetings now? Is he still a town councillor? Because I've not seen him for absolutely yonks, really.
Sorry, who are we talking about? Sorry, I was.
Sorry.
I think it's about the Levelings Working Group, the chairman of the Levelings Working Group.
Right, okay. So that's a separate organisation totally. It's not, I mean, I know it's being run as a one, but it is the town councillor who was actually involved in it. So I thought he would have been attending every now and then. That's all. Okay.
I mean, I think Councillor Craig has attended quite a few of these meetings in the last one, certainly since I've been here. I mean, not every one, but well, like I said, tonight was just sort of a mini update from the consultation. So, yeah, that's. I believe Rachel's already also indicated the total levelings budget in the chat function for you. She got a reference there.
Can I just ask the clerk about the budget that was that's dedicated to the Levelings Working Group? That's something that was decided before. Could you remind me when that was set up? You know, that budget for Levelings Working Group. Was it a while ago or?
It was before I arrived, so it would have been quite a long time ago now. Rachel might be able to answer it, but I'm fairly sure it was initially put in the budget for last year, so 2019-20. But she, unless she contradicts me, that's when it initially was put in, and as far as I understand it, and then the money's just been mostly spent within this financial year.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Rachel, would you be able to answer that question?
Yeah, I think the initial budget came in 18-19, and then it was earmarked in 19-20, and then spent majority in this financial year.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Okay, so if you're happy with that, we can move on to the next item. Yeah. So the next one is item 5, the Armed Forces and Community Day. Have we got? I don't think we have any updates, Clark.
No, nothing at this stage.
Okay. Do we have any questions from councillors?
I'm on that. This is a question for Rachel. I haven't got it in front of me. So there was the Armed Forces costings of the budget, and then there was something else of 225. I couldn't work out what that was actually for. Can you just shine a little light on that, please?
Whereabouts are you talking?
I haven't got it in front of me. It was.
I think. Sorry to interrupt. I think are you talking about the? I think it was some sort of World War II veterans something or other.
Yes.
But I can't. I don't know what it's about. I just remember the title of the budget line.
Yeah. Keith, have you got any idea of that one?
Yeah, it was something that going back a year or so, we was looking at giving World War II veterans something, but as things went on, it fell by the wayside. Did you hear me?
I did. I didn't quite get what you meant by giving something.
Well, as a, what can you call it? Some sort of trophy to say that thanks for what you was doing in World War II, etc. I'm afraid as things went on, it just fell by the wayside.
Councillor Bowles has his hand raised.
Councillor Bowles?
Yeah, no, I was just going to back up what Keith said. A couple of years ago, we decided that the Town Council wanted to recognise any living survivors who served in World War II. There was supposed to be some research being undertaken to bring forward names of people, and then it all got a bit messy that some people claim that their military records didn't stack up and all the rest of it. So I think it all got a bit lost. The intention was missed by some people and it all got a bit messy. So I don't think it's been taken forward anymore, but that was the initial intention, to recognise Gainsborough people who served in World War II.
Thank you, Councillor Walls. Councillor Clues, any more questions?
No, thanks for clarifying that. I don't know how many actually physically live in Gainsborough, but I just have found one in Scott On in a nursing home. So, so that was why I was interested in it as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so our next item is item 6, closure of facilities. Clark, if you would like to, I think it's now in line with the new tier 3. If you'd like just to summarize that for us, please.
Yeah, I'll try. It's sort of it's a bit complicated. The long and short of it is that most of our sites are now open. It's just the reason why I use the word most is because there's some restrictions around who can use it, not our restrictions, government ones, and it is quite complicated. So when you read through our thing, what I've presented to you in the report, and it's sort of caveated with, user groups that are permitted to use it can use it. That's what that's trying to say. But ultimately, all our facilities, to one degree or another, are now open. The town council office is still, by appointment only, and the public toilets are closed. But that's how I've put it in the report is the best way I can summarise it. Councillor Bowles has his hand raised.
Please, Councillor Bowles.
Yeah, I've got 2 questions, please. First one is about play areas, parks, etc. Is it the case that play areas should be open, but it is down to individual organisations' choices if they do open them? I've just noticed, being out and about myself, I've been to a lot of places where the play parks are all still locked up. So I'm just conscious that we are doing it right, having them all open. Is it just that they have made personal choices to keep those places locked? Is my first question. And then my second question is regards grassroots sport on marshals and the gathering of crowds, etc. Who is responsible for managing that and making sure it is all COVID compliant? Does that fall on us as the land, as the owners of the land? Does it fall on the clubs? I'm just conscious that if you get a Sunday morning football game up there, you could quite easily, in present circumstances, have 60, 70, 80, 100 people up there watching it with little or no COVID compliance in place. So would the responsibility on that fall with us if anything was reported and went wrong, or would it be on the people who are actually hiring the facilities?
So in relation to the playgrounds, I can't remember which bit of guidance it's in, but it's a very specific sentence, and I think it's also said playgrounds will can be open or should be open. I can't remember exactly how it's worded. Obviously, each individual organisation has to take its own sort of risk into account and consider it. But from all the guidance that seems to have been stated, the playgrounds should be open. And we have taken steps to sanitise the play equipment as best as we can. So that's it. But I don't think there's any specific guidance saying they should be shut. In reference to site users, as far as I was aware, that everyone's been asked to supply risk assessments to demonstrate COVID compliance, a COVID secure environment. Like with any activity, the risk largely falls on the organiser. So in this case, it could be a football club. It's up to them to make sure that that their event is managed properly. They would manage the risk in any other capacity. So it will be the same. It will be the same with this. If you've got any specific incidences, then obviously we can take this up with the user groups in question.
Councillor Bowles, is that the answers you want?
Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
I've just looked up, it just says all of those areas, it's no more than 6 in some outdoor public spaces, including parks, beaches, countryside, accessible to the public, a public garden, heritage site, castle, sports facility. This is called the rule of 6. So basically 6 in groups of 6, I guess. So if they're moved about, that's it really.
So is that your question, Councillor Clues?
No, I've just looked it up and they're the rules for tier 3. Just covering what Councillor Bowles have just mentioned. So it's sports facility. This is the rule of 6.
So I think the clerk said that it was the responsibility of the sports organizer to stick to enforce the rules. Is that right, Clark? Yeah.
Well, it's not. But like with any other activity, putting COVID to aside, the event organizer is responsible for sort of the conduct of their users and making and ensuring that that people sort of stick to sort of normal health and safety rules. I mean, obviously, we have some roles to play in that, and one of our roles is to make sure that they've considered what actions they need to take, and then if people are found to be in significant breach of them, then we can take it up with them afterwards. But with any other with any other organised sporting activity, the risk lays on the organiser of the event itself.
I think you could always give some advice and put cones out, and then there's sort of like a 12-foot cone, and then you've got you should have at least 6 foot in between each one, really. Then, I don't mean each person. So at least then that they'll know to follow those rules. That's all you can do, really, and then someone go around sort of just checking up.
I don't think anyone else wishes to speak, Chairman. Is there any questions in the chat function?
Oops. Any more questions or? Nope. Okay, so Clark, is that just to note? Yeah.
Yeah. It's I mean, you don't have a choice over it in the respect that it's sort of government guidance. So.
Okay. So I think we can proceed to the next item, which is 7, allotment tenancy agreement and terms and conditions, which is on paper D. I think there was something missed, but I think there was Councillor Danat who's put a motion forward, and maybe you would like to present, his motion, Councillor Danat.
Yes, just in order to move forward from this exercise, given that 2 sets of terms and conditions were sent to the policy review working group, one being rejected by the allotment subcommittee, the other being rejected by this committee, it is proposed that only the current terms and conditions are considered by the policy review working group. I think this will allow us to move on. I'm not in any shape or form saying that the draft is not a good piece of work, but we've certainly got to, at some point, move on under some sort of terms and conditions.
Thank you, Councillor Danat. Before I ask, whether we've got I think you've got a seconder anyway, which is Councillor Clues. But we'll have to ask anyway. Have we got any observations about or questions about the terms and conditions? Whether it's coming from the town council or from the clerk or from the allotment subcommittee?
Well, I'll definitely,
Yeah, Councillor Clues?
sorry, I will definitely go with that. It was actually spoken about at the policy meeting and was discussed very professionally and with a good outcome that Pact can shine a bit more light on that.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Clues. Yeah. Clerk, could I ask, because I can see that Councillor O'Connor is present, could I ask him a bit of, the decision they came to take? Yeah. If I can ask like a summary from him.
That would be entirely appropriate and fine. But I just want to say, Councillor Bowles had his hand raised, but unfortunately, I didn't get in there quick enough because my mic was muted. So I'm really sorry. He was down to speak almost from the start. I apologise, but I didn't realise I started speaking and no one could hear me. So it might be that Councillor Bowles has been waiting longer. You might want to just bring him in, and then if you wish to take from Councillor O'Connor, then fine.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Bowles. Please go ahead.
Yeah, it was on the motion that we only consider one proposal. I'm a little bit confused by the motion. It says that one set of policy was refused by one committee, the other set was refused by another committee, so we'll take one set. Why are we determining that one set? We take that one set if both sets have each been refused by one committee. I'm confused by that point as my first point if we're only discussing the motion at present, because I don't think we can discuss anything else until this motion's been voted on, can we?
Okay, can I ask Councillor Danat, because he's moved this motion here, to answer? Councillor Bowles?
Yes, the current terms and conditions were reviewed by the allotment subcommittee, which is the appropriate committee under the structures and functions. And this draft was actually done by the town clerk. And I'm not saying, as I say, I'm not saying it's a bad piece of work, but it's not what we asked for in July. We asked for a review of the terms and conditions, which would be done by the allotment subcommittee. And that's why I've put this motion forward in this way, because that in actual fact is the agreement we should be looking at now. Under the structures and functions, that is.
I'm even more confused now, Chairman. What on earth that has got to do with the motion before us? I'm confused. Don't get why we're taking one off the table, because can you tell me under what paragraph or what number of structures and functions this motion is based on? If we're going to start quoting structures and functions.
Yeah, Councillor, was that for Councillor Danat?
Whoever's just trying to clarify what we're doing.
If I may, in terms of structures and functions, it is enormously complicated. So you've got several committees, all of which come into play. So you've got the allotment subcommittee, which has a specific function, a specific delegated role to review terms and conditions. Then you've got obviously the policy review working group that has a job within the structures and functions document to sort of be the next stage up and consider the recommendations made by the allotment subcommittee. Then it actually becomes a bit vague after that, It doesn't really say where it goes to next, but this committee, the Community Services Committee, has, I can't remember the exact wording of it, but overall sort of delegated power to manage the allotments. And from what I understand, at the end of the last review, it was this committee that approved or adopted the current terms and conditions. So, as I say, it's a sort of very complicated, arrangements in terms of structures and functions.
Thank you, Clark. So I remember as well that the last Community Services Committee asked, both terms and conditions to be reviewed, by the Councillor O'Connor committee, which I forgot the name. Sorry, because there are so many. So that's why I'm asking. I would be really interested, in having the input of Councillor O'Connor, because he's read, both terms and conditions, and they came to a conclusion as well. And it would be nice, to get his feedback, about both terms and conditions, if that's possible.
Thank you, Chairman. The two documents came to us in a bit of a roundabout fashion. So we had two sets of terms and conditions, one that had come via your committee and one that had come via the allotments committee. One had been rejected by one had been rejected by the other. So you sent both back to my committee. But unfortunately, as it's written at the moment, all my committee can do is make minor amendments. We were in a catch-22 situation of trying to choose between two sets of rules and regulations, each of which had been rejected by one or other of the committees. In the end, I proposed that we accept the current conditions because they had come through the allotments committee, which, as Councillor Donat has said and the clerk has agreed to, that is the normal route for them to come to. But I agree with the leader. It is strange to have happened that way. And obviously all I can do on the policy committee is take a lead from your committee, which is why I put them back. What I didn't want to do was send both sets back to you saying we couldn't accept either. But again, it's up to you this evening to decide which one you want us to do. And I can then take it on from there.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Yeah, thank you very much. Have we got any more questions or anything else about this item?
Are we able to discuss the item and why we think either policy is a better option than the other, or are we taking Councillor Donat's motion that takes one off the table for discussion? That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. What are we discussing? What are we allowed to discuss?
Would you like me to answer that?
Yes, please, Clark.
Right. So in terms of what Councillor Donat appears to be moving would be obviously to remove one of the options. So you quite and progress that and only progress one. So you're quite valid to discuss why you either think that particular one shouldn't be moved or why another one should be moved. You would not be negating the motion in any way to discuss why you think one or the other should or shouldn't be moved. So I don't think the motion that Councillor Donat has moved precludes discussion of either one, but that's what I think. Councillor Donat has his hand raised.
Yes, Councillor Donat. Oh, the video's gone.
And that appears to have vanished.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Councillor Donat.
Am I back again?
Yes, you are.
Now I'm back. I've forgotten what I was going to say because somebody put me off somewhere. Yeah, it was a matter of which one to choose, why we should choose one above the other, wasn't it? That's the thing. I think the current terms and conditions are accepted by the plot holders, who are the community, and not so the new terms and conditions that are proposed now. That's what I got through the allotment subcommittee, and the allotment secretaries, of course, represent the community, and this is a community service. And I think if the community chooses to say we're happy as we are, then let's leave it at that and get on with doing the job that we're here to do, and that is to look after the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Donat. Have you got any more questions or?
Councillor Bowles has his hand raised.
Yes, Councillor Bowles.
Yeah, I'll cut to the chase now then and discuss both and why I think one is better, should be accepted ahead of the other. Yeah, Councillor Donat's right. We are here to serve the community, but that shouldn't be at the detriment of ensuring that we are unable to manage and enforce rules on the facilities that we own and manage. The current conditions might be acceptable to the allotment holders. The current policy is not acceptable, not recommended by the National Allotment Holders Association, who have made it quite clear that these rules as they stand are not enforceable, leave the council in a very tricky situation if there are any going-ons on the site that we wish to enforce. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't care what anybody tells me. I've seen that with my own eyes over the last 6, 7, 8 weeks. I am sick of talking about allotments with the clerk. That is all we seem to be spending our time doing, and a lot of these problems come back to the current terms and conditions. As far as I'm concerned, they're not fit for purpose. As a responsible council, we should be taking the advice of our professional officer, the town clerk, of our operations manager, who has to manage these sites, and the legal advisors of the National Allotments Association, who deal with these terms and conditions week in, week out across the country. If they're telling us that these aren't fit for purpose, and that the ones proposed by Tom would stand us in better stead of managing and enforcing issues on this site, we wholeheartedly should be supporting these. I'm not saying they're complete and as they are. If we're going to send one back to the policy working review group to be tweaked and, you know, maybe encompass some of the original things, for me, it has to be the set put forward by Tom for those reasons that I've outlined. So I'll keep it as simple as that, Chair. I won't be supporting the motion to put forward the current proposals, as I will be supporting the new proposals. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Bowles. So, Councillor Bowles, would you like to put a motion forward, or
Chairman, it would need to be an amendment.
Or an amendment? Thank you, Clerk.
Okay, then my amendment would be that the new terms and conditions go to the policy review group for the final tweaking review, additions, subtractions. Yeah, so yeah, basically I'll move that the new proposals go forward to the policy review working group.
Councillor Donat has his hand raised.
Yeah, Councillor Donat, go ahead.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it is proven that there is. What was stated was that the present terms and conditions are not enforceable. It has been proven that one rule, I think, is not enforceable, but that would also apply to the new terms and conditions, simply because we've got no enforcement policy in place. It's not the terms and conditions that's the problem. It is the actual enforcement of the terms and conditions. And this, I think this is what we've got to look at. And we've got to look at this first before we even rewrite or accept any other terms and conditions. And it's the enforcement of the terms and conditions that is the problem. It's not the terms and conditions themselves.
Sorry, Chair, can I come back on that?
Yes, please, Councillor.
If your terms and conditions are written correctly, they are enforceable through those terms and conditions. And that is what we are being told by the legal advisors. Legal advisors of the National Allotments Association are telling us this is how we enforce our policy, by making the policy fit for purpose in the first place.
Thank you, Councillor Walls.
Councillor Donat has re-raised his hand.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I'd just like, I'd like to, somebody to explain how that enforcement, who is going to actually see to the enforcement of the terms and conditions, whether it's the present terms and conditions, which we work under at the moment, or whether it's a complete new document, which may or may not get past council in the next couple of months. We need to move forward, and we need to decide who actually carries out the enforcement, because at the moment that is a grey area, and that is whichever terms and conditions apply.
Thank you, Councillor Donat. Councillor Donat, I will ask you a question, because you seem to be an expert in allotments, about enforcement, because we've got there are site secretaries, you know, on every allotment. Don't they, if they look, because I know that, well, they get a commission, yeah, on plots and a percentage as well. Isn't part of their role to look at what's going on their allotments and speak with the plot holders? That's my question, Councillor Donat. Thank you.
Yes, under the new terms and conditions, if we accept them, this actually still applies. But it's been proven over the past 2 or 3 years that this is simply not happening. So we've got to tighten up the enforcement. And if the site secretaries are going to enforce the rules, then that's got to be clear. Later on tonight, we'll get into another discussion about allotments, which we can't comment on, but if that had been dealt with under the same situation that will be faced after tonight, then we wouldn't be discussing that one later on tonight, would we? Because the system would work, and the system will not work whichever policy is in place for terms and conditions. It's the enforcement that is the problem, and that just needs it just needs a line of communication and cut out the grey area as to whether council's liable for enforcement or the secretaries or whatever. Let's have somebody there that is liable for enforcement. And that is not the case at the moment. Whichever terms and conditions we accept tonight, that is not there at the moment. So it would be easier to put that into place under the present terms and conditions, because they have already been accepted by council.
Thank you, Councillor.
They were accepted a few years ago.
Councillor Bowles has his hand raised.
Councillor Walls, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Chairman, I'm getting more confused as we go along. Apologies if I've misunderstood Councillor Donat, but did he just say that whichever one of these policies goes forward, it's not going to work. It's not good enough. So I'm completely at a loss. If he's saying that, why is he going to propose taking one policy forward? Surely, if it's not good enough, it's not going to do what it needs to do, then we should be doing something different. We shouldn't be just going ahead with something because the allotment holders accept it. If we're pushing something through, acknowledging that it is not good enough and it's not going to work, that would be slightly remiss on our behalf, I think. Which, like I say, I'm even more confused now, to be perfectly honest with you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowles. Councillor Donat.
Neither of the policies actually makes clear the enforcement. The enforcement side of the terms and conditions is the problem. If we come up with a draft that includes enforcement and who is responsible for enforcement, then we're moving forward. Or we can move forward by putting those rules into place, who is responsible, inside the present terms and conditions, which we can do straight away. Whereas if we now move on to the draft terms and conditions, tonight it's got to go elsewhere to be looked at. And that can be another 3 months down the line from now. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Donat. Okay, so have we got any more questions or observations?
I appear to have anyone else's hand raised or anyone in the chat function, Chair.
Okay, so Clark, so we've got one motion by Councillor Donat, and then we've got an amendment from Councillor Bowles,
which has been proposed but not seconded yet.
okay.
Which basically basically sets out that the document that should be taken forward is the draft, not the current, but it hasn't been seconded.
Okay, have we got a seconder for that?
Sorry, I'll second that purely because of the timescale.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Clues. So, Clark, shall we proceed to a vote?
So just to make sure that we're clear. So the original motion was proposed by Councillor Donat, seconded by Councillor Clues, and set out that to the next policy review working group meeting that the current terms and conditions be sent forward, and then tweaks be looked at that meeting. Councillor Bowles' amendment essentially just took out the word current and put in draft, i.e. the one that I've placed before the committee. So is everyone clear on that before I start sort of, if with the chair's permission, before I start moving through the process of voting?
Yeah.
So, because that's as best as I can summarise it. So does everyone understand? I just don't want to start saying people's names and then for them to be confused.
Can I request a recorded vote on this, please, Chair?
Yes, yeah.
I believe Councillor Donat has his hand raised. I don't know whether it's for a matter of clarity.
Councillor
Yeah, yeah, it is just for clarity, a point of order. We vote on the amendment first, is that right?
That's correct.
And another point of fact is that the vote is already recorded.
Councillor Donat, what Councillor Bowles has asked for is something very specific, which would mean that the vote is recorded within the minutes. So although it is technically recorded, as in by video,
it's fair comment, but
yeah, it'll be actually specifically recorded within the minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Chairman, would you like me to proceed with the vote on the amendment? So if everyone's clear, when I say your name, this is for the amendment, please could you say for, against, or abstain. So, Councillor Bowles.
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Clues.
Against.
Thank you very much. Councillor Donat.
Against.
Thank you very much. Councillor Panther.
Abstain.
Thank you very much. Councillor Valan.
For.
Thank you very much. So that is a tie. So it comes down to the chair's casting vote. So there's two for, 2 against, and 1 abstain.
So that's me to Clark.
Sorry.
Are you asking me to vote again?
Yes. So in the case of a tie,
Yeah.
the chairman has what's often referred to as the casting vote. So essentially, to break the deadlock,
Yeah.
you
For.
have to vote again, so to speak.
For.
Thank you. So the amendment has now become the substantive. So the amendment is that the draft terms and conditions, the ones I've drafted, will be put to the policy review working group for further consideration. I believe the word used was tinkering, and then brought back to this. So just to be clear, this body seems to have approved these rules previously, because I've heard the word council mentioned a few times. So are people expecting these terms and conditions to come back here for approval with the committee that has delegated functions, or are you asking them to take them to council? Just when I'm talking through this.
Tom, Clark, are you asking me a question or?
Yeah. So just to make sure the motion's correct.
Yeah.
So go to policy review working group, yes, and then you're expecting it to come back here.
Yeah.
Perfect. So on that basis, so this is now the motion, which is a substantive, which has been amended, which will see the draft terms and conditions go through to the policy review working group. So when I say name, please say for, against, or abstain. Councillor Bowles.
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Clues.
Sorry, I've just lost the plot now. Is that to go to policy? Yeah.
So that was the motion moved originally.
Yeah. Okay. I just drifted a bit. So, sorry. I do apologise. For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Donat.
Abstain.
Very much. Councillor Panther.
For.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Valan.
For.
Thank you very much. That motion is now carried.
Okay, thank you, Clark. So the next item, which is item 8, community grants. We've got an application from the Bearded Fishermen charity. It says they've already received £500, but I think there's nothing, that says that they can't have another grant. And we've got enough money in the budget. Have we got any questions or observations about these grant application, councillors?
Sorry, Chair. Yeah, I've got.
Yeah.
I would like to mention something, but I would like to propose and move this into closed session, if possible.
Okay. I'll second that, if that's possible as well. Clark, could we proceed to a vote?
Of course, so just to be clear, you want this to be in closed session at the end of the agenda, not taking the meeting to closed session now.
No,
At the end, no, it makes sense to go in at the end, doesn't it, with the other?
Okay, then. So this is just, so you just want me to take a vote to move this to the end for closed session, right? So when I just say your name, please say for, against, abstain. Councillor Bowles.
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Clues.
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Donat.
For.
Thank Thank you very much. Councillor Panther.
For.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Villan.
4.
Thank you very much. That motion's carried.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the 9th item, which is from West Finsbury District Council, and is the climate change committee that they've got. Clark, have you got a quick summary of paper F?
Yeah, so it's just simply we got the council's got asked to give its views on a document being moved by West Finsbury District Council. Normally I would have put this through council, but we've only got so much time. I believe the deadline's 31st of December, so obviously for our next meeting, I was just going to put it in front of this committee and then planning, because it seemed to sort of broadly cover remits of both. If there's any feedback anyone wants to give them in the documents there, it's not that long. I think it's sort of 4 or 5 pages. If there's any feedback that you wish to formally be given, now's your chance to say it, and it will be put to them by myself.
Thank you, Clark. Have we got any feedback or questions? Councillor Clues?
Mine's on fly tipping and tips, basically, for across the whole of this area. Lincoln County Council seem to be well and truly under control as far as making sure that things are picked up very, very quickly as soon as someone's fly tipped and it's reported. However, surely when they're trying to save money and the environment and everything on the climate and cost cutting and what have you, why are they going through that process? Why can't they leave the tips open as they normally do? Why is there so many restrictions? Why is there sort of, a certain size trailer, certain size day for a piece of cardboard or whatever? Whereas Scunthorpe, North Lincolnshire, they're open all the time and anybody can go in anytime and, opening hours, obviously. And at the end of the day, we're talking about social distancing. When you compare that with a supermarket to a tip, you're going in steadily. You're not all piling on top of each other. I just find it, I don't know, pretty poor how they actually physically run it as a whole. When they were actually looking at it as it's just increasing. And then when they've actually got the evidence, say like the White Hart, they knew how much was being dumped out, but they're not following it through. So it's still never been followed through. And this is being chased up at the moment by the Wildsworth Watch. And they won't put cameras down, they won't put this, that, and the other. There's no sort of things in place to actually have any follow-ups of this, and they know they're getting away with it. It will just continue. It is so stressful for everyone concerned, really, quite honestly, wherever it is, whether it be the yards, the 10-yard or 10, I can't remember what you called it, Dennis, those they call them rat runs, don't they? But
10 foot.
10 foot, that's it. So depending on where it is, people are quite happy to chuck stuff on the floor. The dog pooing is absolutely ridiculous. We've got to sort of enforce, nobody seems to follow anything through. There's no sort of like huge signs anywhere, real threatening signs or anything like that, particularly in the country. And it's the same people out in our rural area that actually does a lot of the picking up. A lot of the farmers do it and they just said it's easier because it's more of a rigmarole to go through the process. But they know the stats. I get everything on Fix My Street and the amount of stuff that comes up on there is crazy. So that is not the solution, just telling someone else on an app to actually pick something up. I think it needs to be sorted and they would save an absolute fortune and the area would be, 20 times better.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Clues. Have we got any other feedback?
Councillor Bowles has his hand raised.
Yes, Councillor Bowles, please.
Yeah, I think from looking at it, the 3 main things that we should be sort of encouraging and pushing for, and probably the biggest impacts are transport waste and I say buildings, but building/planning is really what I'm going to say. Transport, we need to be, making representations that we need to be doing more to encourage You know, less people driving. We need to be doing more to encourage walking, the use of public transport in Gainsborough and the surrounding areas. We need to be doing more to encourage or to bring in investment in terms of cycle routes, cycle paths within Gainsborough. There is very little. The little bits that are there, you know, the bit that goes down from the academy down Corringham Road just stops when you get to the bottom of Spittal Terrace Bridge there. Doesn't take any of the kids into town, doesn't consider any of the kids who live across the other side of town on Park Springs Estate, anything like that. There's very little linked up cycling and walking routes around the town. So we need to be, you know, from a town council point of view, in my opinion, we need to be pushing that back to the district and saying they need to be on board with that. Waste, I still say one of the probably the quickest and easiest wins is to, you know, get some sort of campaign out there reinforcing what is recyclable, what is non-recyclable, how to, you know, manage your recycle bin at home, because, you know, you just, and I'll hold my hands up, we do it. You just get a plastic bottle, it just goes in the blue bin, whether you washed it out or not. You know, and that's straight away your blue bin is contaminated and that recycling waste is gone. So I think, you know, a lot of people need re-educating on what is recyclable and stuff. So I think, again, we should be pushing that. And I think, you know, the carbon, you know, the environmental strategy has to link up and go hand in hand with planning at West Lindsey. You know, so any new developments, you know, have they got a cycling route? Have they got, you know, a walking route link? How are they feeding into the rest of the town's routes around the town? How are those buildings, you know, environmentally friendly? Have they got all the correct stuff? It might not be the cheapest in the world, but, you know, if West Lindsey is serious about it, that needs to be their position, that it is, you know, a strong point of their planning, that to get through planning, you need to tick a lot more environmental and sustainable boxes to get your planning permission. So they would be the three things I would suggest we need to comment on.
Thank you, Councillor Bowles. Any other councillors?
I think Councillor Donat has his hand raised at one point, but it seems to be down now.
Yes, I was going to just agree with what Liz said about dog waste and all that. They don't seem to take a lot of things real seriously, West Lindsey District Council. There are, I think, there's only one place where dogs are banned, and that is on Trinity Arts in Gainsborough, at any rate. And yet the signs that say that dogs are banned can't be seen until you're in the middle of the grounds. And they haven't made any difference at all to people walking the dogs on there or not picking the dog mess up. I promise you that.
Is that it, Councillor Donat? Yeah.
That's it, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just on dog poo? Not that I'm really keen on that.
Uh,
It's just the fact.
yeah.
Sorry, I do apologise. Sorry.
Come on, Councillor Clues, go on.
I was actually just walking through some grass the other day, and I just I didn't realise that I was standing on dog poo until I was ready to get back into the car. So, you know, whilst it's just some dog just being let off, there's more consequences, and you know, you can't always see it. It's not always on the on the pathway.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Clues. I think this document is a bit, well, it's a broad document, you know, about the future, you know, and the environmental strategy. So I think it's a bit some guidelines, you know, about what they want to, like Councillor Bowles said, you know, it's about being sustainable, and I think it's a big thing they've got. But I think, you know, I agree with you, Councillor Donat and Councillor Clues, but I think that might be something else, you know, about cleaning, and it doesn't, yeah, it's not really covered in that document. That's it. I think. Have we got any other questions or anything else? Yeah, Councillor Clues.
Well, roads. I mean, you know, they've done poorly, and they break down so quickly. So how many times are they going to actually redo roads rather than sort of allow grass verges to sort of like get bigger and bigger and bigger, wider and wider, and narrow roads, and then, you know, there's great big dips and all the rest of it. So that is actually, you know, right across Lincolnshire. You know, that's absolutely huge. And they don't, obviously, whatever material they're putting down, it's not sustainable. And equally, like you were talking about the belt, Matthew, you know, that would encourage a lot of people to actually walk around that belt. That's just for Gainsborough. You know, I was sort of looking for Gainsborough rather than sort of like the further afield, but there's absolutely stacks. I went on this meeting when they first had it, when the first lockdown, but you know, there's absolutely huge amounts of changes that you can do.
Right. Councillor Clues, yeah. So in the for item 9, yeah. So the item was to note, and if we wanted to make a formal response, is that right, Clark?
Yeah. So I mean, I've made a note of everything that everyone said. So if, like I said, I was just planning to quickly put this past planning as well to get sort of as many views from members as I could, and then sort of last thing before I break up for Christmas, just to write a letter off, sort of distilling all the things that have been said. So if you're happy for me to put forward the views that you've all just expressed and the opinions, then that can be part of the formal response of the council.
Clark, could we have also, because you know the planning and development, would they be interested in joining us in giving some comments as well, you know, about cycling routes, and I know we mentioned that, you know, during a community services committee a few months ago when I put a motion, you know, to send a letter to Lincolnshire County Council about cycling routes in Gainsborough and signage. Yeah, but could we also ask, you know, planning and development, you know, to have a response as well, to join us with that?
Yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, that's a good point. So Chase it.
Because every time, you know, they look at some new planning, they could give an answer, you know, mention, you know, cycling routes, like somebody said, you know, one of the councillors said that they could look at cycling routes within that new development, you know, and walking routes as well, you know, and things like that when they examine. Yeah. Have we got any other questions or observations? No?
Just one. They did have a big survey actually at the old hall, and they had a lot of feedback from the community and through the town councillors as well.
Yeah.
So they should have all, you know, every route possible that you can walk and cycle on.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Clues. Yeah.
Sorry, Chair, can I just jump in before you move on and just say that tomorrow the Gainsborough Transport Strategy Board is meeting, and on the agenda, I've got it this afternoon, Gainsborough Walking and Cycling Network Plan, Gainsborough Transport Strategy, and various other things, public transport. So those things are all on the agenda, being discussed through LCC. Unfortunately, West Lindsey have turned down their invites to this meeting, which is a bit bizarre. But so yeah, there will be a meeting taking place tomorrow. So might be able to update people a bit more on that after tomorrow's meeting.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowles. Thank you. Okay, so have we got any? Councillor Danat, did you raise your hand? You're on mute.
I think you say no.
Okay. Okay, so I think we can move on to the next item, which is to go into, if I'm right, Clark, is it to go on into a private session?
Yeah, you need to positively vote to do this. So would you like me to move to a vote?
Proceed, please. Yes, Clark.
Yeah. So actually, still, because someone just proposed and seconded. Sorry, I forgot to ask.
Yeah, there was. Yes,
So you proposed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just have a seconder to move to exclude the present public.
I think I seconded that, didn't I not?
Perfect. Yeah, so I'll just take the vote now to move. So Councillor Bowles, for or against abstain.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Clues.
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Donat.
Or
Thank you very much. Councillor Panter.
Oh,
Thank you very much. And Councillor Valan.
For.
Thank you very much. Chair, would you like me to stop the live stream?
Yes, please, Clark.
Thank you.